if he's going to continue that trend of not playing his Vayne and Caitlyn. He's had so much success on Vayne and Caitlyn in the past.
And there were his 2 picks yesterday.
That changing it up at this point,
yep,
after making it to World Championships, just seems incredibly dangerous. But man, fast and furious pick ban.
Absolutely, way faster than our previous games. Kassadin still finding himself on the list. Ari being one that ends Zed. They're just hand in hand.
They're just going right for Peke. You can tell that they've done their scouting.
You have to shut down Peke for Fnatic to be ever taken out.
Yeah, in the final game of the European playoffs, I remember Peke had 400 minion kills at like 30-some minutes. Yeah. On Ari, I mean, everyone bans against Peke because Peke is the man who makes all the plays for Fnatic. That's clearly what Ozone is going for.
That's the best way to have all your eggs in one basket, is when they have to ban you.
They're like banning away the other team's basket. I don't know.
So Looper looks like he will get his Shen. The Singed wasn't even taken out this time, so it kind of, says what he wants to do and what he has done with these champions.
Yeah, obviously, after all the assassins are banned out, it's kind of hard for Xpeke to just, play an assassin. So he's back to Orianna. But that's not something that you think of when you think of Xpeke. It's the balanced, average mid laner that can obviously have a strong laning phase and then have an impact in team fights. That is a very interesting choice by Fnatic.
We're going to see some Cloud play on that Rammus. Haven't seen Rammus in a long time. Throwbacks there, but it will be the swap-ups. Like you're seeing Aatrox still coming into play. The Sona being picked out as 3rd pick, but what is their 2nd priority here?
This would be the moment for them to pick probably a Jarvan or an Elise, because those are the big 3 junglers, I feel like, for
Crystal
Dandy.
Ball's clean today.
Well, it was after the Elise was picked. But really, that's the tricky stuff right here. They still get to pick their AD carry, knowing most likely what AD carry Fnatic picks after them. Pushu's had a lot of success on the long-range AD carries. He actually played 5 Ashe games as well. We haven't seen Ashe yet in the World Championships, despite seeing so much Ashe at the regionals. Ashe can also work fairly well against the Trinity Force users. It would be a potential pick for Fnatic if they're going for more of a control-centric team composition, knowing they already have the Ari locked in. Or sorry, the Orianna locked in.
We're still waiting. Long bans coming out for both of these teams consistently.
Bans were fast.
Or picks, right.
Slowing down a little slow.
Picks. I'll get the right word. Corki being looked at here. We did not see the Triforce build coming out of an Ezreal in our recent games, but we may see that back onto Pushu. He's been playing quite well for the team. Very consistent throughout his play. He's not super impacting the team's games, but he's definitely there to keep him afloat. Yeah,
and Fnatic is looking to blow people up right now.
Yep.
Soaz has played Lissandra in the top lane a couple of times during the European LCS season, and Corki as well synergizes so well at just AoE team composition, team fights. Knowing that Ozone is a little bit more of a controlled team, and knowing that they used to generally run with 2 threats when they had Ohm in the top lane,
wow,
this is a whole bunch of damage for Fnatic, and then Ozone picking the Gragas to try and disrupt those combos coming through.
This is going to be a very nice composition. We actually get to see Imp on Kog'Maw. He's made a 3-game resurgence here. This is going to be different for him, but will he decide to go for the Triforce build that's been done twice now by Genja?
I'm not sure.
No.
I'm going to say no. Imp is a Blade of the Ruined King user, for the most part.
I think the crowd agrees.
Yeah, well, you never know. We'll see if it can terrorize the rest of the group as well as solo queue. But, I mean, Genja is 2-0 on it so far. This last pick for Fnatic, however, it's odd that you actually see the support this long into the pick and ban phase.
Well, it could be. Look at these picks. You have Orianna and Lissandra, so that could be your support right there.
The support Lissandra.
The support
I know
Ellie,
Edward
and it's
was
not
practicing
though.
it,
Awesome.
That's not it.
How much AP do you want, guys?
They just want to... This is actually something that I don't know if will work out for Fnatic, because their team composition is so much about just comboing all of their spells together at once in the team fights, and
that's a big boom.
That doesn't necessarily work against the best teams in the world. We've seen so many teams try and do it, and they will get out split pushed, they will get out pressured, they will get out maneuvered in team fights, and Fnatic has to find ways to kind of catch Ozone in odd situations. Knowing that Ozone generally has such strong vision control as well, it is a very risky composition for Fnatic to pick right now. No real tanks in their entire team composition, but a whole bunch of team fighting champions they want to pull out. If they fall behind in this game, or if Looper gets farmed on Shen, Fnatic's not going to be able to pull this off.
All right, well, as the teams load onto the Rift, let's take a look at who you guys think is going to walk away with the win. According to LOLesports.com, our closest game of 51% believe that Fnatic is going to be able to take the Nexus, and the analysts, I'll pick those now.
I can imagine being a fan at home right now and being like, "You're counting my fan vote. I was one of the 49%," right? Because it's those Riot versus everyone else right here. It's just, oh man, 51-49. Who was it? It was Fnatic ahead.
Yep, because everybody picked Ozone in the analyst test.
Ozone has been looking very shaky, considering the expectations coming in. But
we also the remarks for the Ozone picks, or for the Fnatic picks, like were mess ups.
We also have to remember the way Ozone qualified for this as well. They, even though they won the spring season of champions, their actual ability to get the circuit points was winning the fourth place game in the summer season against CJ Entis Frost, and that was a 3-2. And then Frost did very poorly in the next Korean regional tournament. Just saying, they may or may not be like the craziest of they're not playing as well as they were when they won the season.
We'll have to see what happens here. Game 8, a very and much awaited game of the day here in Group B on our second day of World. Samsung Galaxy Ozone versus Fnatic, the European champions, and we are onto the Rift.
And look at this double Fairy Charm coming out from XPeke as well. Instead of a Doran's Ring, he's definitely going to try and maximize his item build instead of getting the early lane farm, but maybe we'll see some level 1 action here, because that's a very aggressive move up by Ozone. SOAS is just waiting to kind of see that happen. I could see a taunt coming up from Looper if they somehow got vision of him, but that would require Ozone to actually get the ward over the Baron Pit as the taunt was coming in, and they're not going to be able to do that.
SOAS actually hasn't even taken a skill yet. Playing that level 1 very safe. He may need to escape here, or he may need to get that final kill if his team comes up with him. But it looks like they're going to play this one steady and just to catch the vision. Fnatic does not want this to sway in the way of Ozone at all in the beginning of this game.
Get out of there, SOAS.
He didn't even take a skill yet either. He's like, hey, they're here.
Yeah.
I'm waiting.
The rest of Fnatic has to be pretty careful about where they're going to check for vision here. Peke has absolutely been spotted.
There's the movement.
But he's absolutely spotted Ozone as well. And we heard the analyst test talking about this as well. When you have knowledge of the other team's level 1, trading is one of the worst things you can actually do. And knowing that there's wards within the red buffs, it does actually seem like these junglers, with so many pings going down, are just deciding to take standard jungle starts, both of them running over to their blue buffs, and now it actually depends on the lane swaps whether we're going to see a jungler invade or not. So with Ozone having their AD carry and support top, that would have granted them the ability to invade the red buff of Fnatic, and that's why Fnatic is sending Pushu and Yellowstar up top as well to stop the Sona and Kog'Maw from bullying Aatrox out of his buff.
So how does this work as the junglers get through their lanes and you have now Elise going to the bottom side? It's going to be on the 2v1, and you're going to have Aatrox going for that.
Yeah, it's all standard at this point. Because they've kind of done the counterplay to stop each other. I think the lane matchups here are partly influenced by the jungle starts and the wards they've created, but it's also just because they want to lane that Corki versus Kog'Maw. Yes, Kog'Maw has some pretty good matchups against Corki, but that is actually a fairly skill-based matchup, and I think they want to fight.
All right, so Cyanide making his way to the red. It's matched up by Dandy. Actually, Dandy has already completed, so he is on the move here. Let's see if Cyanide makes an impact in any one of these lanes. And we did see the Fairy Charm start in the middle. SOAS taking a bit here, and he's going to be able to get walked on. This could be some big damage for Looper, but he doesn't really want to take that much damage from all those minions coming up on him.
Yeah, SOAS has to be incredibly cautious right now because Cyanide was just doing his own red buff, and that's the reason Looper was able to taunt onto him. He knew there was absolutely 0% chance of anyone being there, and he could get down that essentially safe harass onto the early game Lissandra, who has mana costs that are too high to trade damage properly with Shen right now.
And you're right, Jap. Both of the junglers actually doing the orthodox start, and it was Cyanide from his red to
all
the bottom
way back.
lane.
He spent so long to set this up because he was expecting an Elise gank with the way Looper was playing. But Dandy stuck around in that lane for so long, and the wave is pushing back against him that Dandy's actually left. Looper is just going to let this lane shove in, and that actually means a huge amount of wasted time for Cyanide.
Both junglers caught themselves out a little bit. Double movement into the brush here for the ward. So Dandy and Dade moving together as an extension of each other just to safely place these wards down.
So really just conventional laning from these guys. It looks like a bit of a gold lead for Ozone right now, but that's just because the waves were shoving in towards Fnatic's turret. Mid lane, of course, Peke. I want to see how he does against Dade here because Dade. The double Fairy Charm doesn't necessarily mean Peke's going for much early on, and he's both of these mids are somewhat vulnerable to ganks, but definitely Peke more so, just knowing that Gragas can jump away. But if those land, it's big damage.
Pushu not with the Gatling yet, so it's all about the auto attacks. They're not going to be able to shred out. He has 2 in that queue and 1 in his Valkyrie. Just used that, the cooldown quite far. Mata's able to stay in. They have the sustain. That is the difference between the heals and not having the heals, and the first blood goes to Mata.
And so has teleported up. They're making that kill.
Dandy tries to go hard. The red buff is burning. Stop, drop, and roll for the safety. Pushu gets out alive, and they're going to continue on to Imp if they can get this kill. It would be quite big, but he makes it out safely.
He leveled up right as the red buff was trying to burn him down. Fnatic, because of the teleport from Soaz that was not able to be interrupted by Looper in the bottom lane, get the 2-for-1 in a chaotic exchange.
Huge pressure in that top lane is going to help this double AP composition get quite strong. Teleport used there by Soaz to make an impact in the top lane, and they used it perfectly.
You can see now Soaz just trying to get some of the farm back, and the lane swap is already on. The Corki was actually beating Pushu pretty badly in that lane, even before the flashes were expended, so they just wanted to swap that back. Soaz, yeah, he's going to get it.
Very nice. He throws Dade for a loop there. 7,000 gold to 7.4, so not too much has been done with whatever kills have happened. Both of the junglers showing a little bit of presence.
And this is why this group is just so incredibly close. Like, I almost feel like anyone can beat anyone in the top 4 right now. Ozone had such a strong game against Vulcan. Vulcan had such an even stronger game against Fnatic. And early on, Fnatic knows how to deal with this Ozone team. I still think we need to wait for the team compositions to really come into effect. Ozone definitely has a much more normal and almost balanced team composition in the sense that their lane matchups are strong and they get the split push and lane pressure that can come from having Gragas and Shen, whereas Fnatic is much more unconventional. That's the whole reason you don't know what Fnatic's going to come at you with until you play them. They're so variant from game to game, and it becomes so difficult to actually plan for them.
It's kind of put Dade into the position where he went top lane. And now 6.5 minutes in, it's 47 to 37 in CS. Xpeke already has that lead in CS, and we said in the beginning, shutting him down is pivotal this game, and he's getting no focus right now from any of Ozone.
I wonder if Fnatic's going to go for this Dragon as well. They have done the lane swap. There was the scout from Dandy. He only got vision to the outside of his repel, so he didn't actually see them going for Dragon there. That was awesome movement there by Fnatic, sticking back for the Dragon. Since they had the ward over the wall, they knew when Dandy went for the vision check, and there's actually no knowledge right here of Ozone, knowing that Fnatic's taking that Dragon. That's awesome.
Very good play. 7:15 is the Dragon. That will be 13-15 the next time. That one will be nearing the respawn. 10,000 to 9,000 gold. So it's only 1k lead. It's not too huge for them, but they are going to try to extend that quite far. The Chalice now picked up on Dade, and a yet to back here for Xpeke.
And Dade has been heavily questioned so far in this World Championship, knowing that a lot of his champions have been nerfed down, his Zed has been banned out, he defaulted back to Jace in their first matchup of the day, did pretty well with it, but right now, he's just going toe-to-toe with Xpeke, and Peke is the one out-farming early on. Yes, Orianna does have a slightly stronger early laning phase against Gragas, but especially since Peke went with the no Doran's Ring start, essentially, not super strong lane, and he's still out-farming him, Dade's got to pick it up here with Gragas.
It really helped. Those Fairy Charms just allow the Q movement, the zoning out of lane onto Gragas, because he's going to be on Drunken Rage all day, so he's going to have the mana you need to get from those Fairy Charms.
Oh, look out, Soaz. There's people there.
Oh, it's going to be Cyanide as well, though. He says, we probably can't do this. And Soaz gets shattered.
No, but the dive bottom lane as well. Pushu trying to get Looper.
There it is. One last auto attack. Low on mana, but he doesn't even have to use the Valkyrie to get out, as it was used on the wing in.
Yellowstar actually died during that dive, so that is effectively a 2-for-1 trade back for Ozone. And then because Soaz died to the impressive roam from Ozone, it means a top lane turret for them as well.
We see Dandy moving in here. 10 seconds for Looper to spawn, and Stand United is up. With Fnatic thinking that he is down, they may try something here, but it looks like Dade leaves lane because he's got to cover bottom now.
Yeah, Dade did do some impressive roaming there, and that's actually kind of on Peke that Soaz died as a mid laner. Peke needed to have some ward control of his own jungle.
Dade trying to throws out the barrel, gets a bit of damage on there. Will he go for the slam and the cask? It does not look like he wants any bit of that. Not any vision behind it, but he chased him out. He can be a bully right now with where he's at. But it is 84 to 53. Xpeke, 84 CS. Dade, 55 right now. That gold is only 200 in the lead for Xpeke.
Yeah, even with the kill from Dade, it's just not quite enough because of how much Peke has been farming. But I think that was also Peke playing very passive in that lane and just concentrating extremely heavily on his last hitting ability. That's the whole reason Soaz died, and actually cost Soaz a little bit that Peke is doing well in the lane, which is, it's not something new for Fnatic. They're willing to make sacrifices for Peke. You can see he came back to lane, doesn't have the pink wards that we see a lot of other mid laners recently buying either, because he is so concentrated on hitting his big items on Orianna.
And so those 80 carries, chat. Looks like we're going to get a Triforce out of both if Imp continues that build.
Channeling his Genja right now. He loses to the Triforce Kog'Maw. You have to bring it back in the next game.
Gotta respect it. 3-3 on the kills. Both of these teams being able to dish out the damage as well as throw it back. Good offense and a good defense from both sides. Yellow Star with the Zenith Blade, but they still throw it on the ultimate. Trying to fake that one out, but here comes that Stand United. Cyanide as well comes into the fight, and they will be able to get the top on him. Very low. Looper is just getting crushed. A great ultimate coming in from Soaz, and they obliterate the bottom lane with 4 members.
And that's the dive from Fnatic coming in. Everyone capable of piling in. That is the way Fnatic needs to play this one. They have had success with heavy compositions yesterday that dove, and that was a brilliant execution of it.
You said it before, Jat. They needed to grab the upper hand. If Looper was able to get ahead at all, it would have been too much for them. They have the damage team, and they're using it perfectly.
And specifically, the timing in that gank with which Soaz put out his Lissandra E was while he was crescendoed, and then he could still execute it afterwards. So it effectively negated the shutdown that Mata tried to put on him and secured a crisp double kill for Fnatic. Those are incredibly huge plays because it means Pushu still has 100% kill participation. When he hits Trinity Force on Corki substantially before Imp does, it's going to mean a huge power spike for Fnatic in this game.
Dade having trouble even farming in this mid lane. Finally gets a Drunken Rage on. You can see him 115 to 75 in CS with 60 farm on Dandy as well. He's been keeping time in that jungle to Cyanide's 40. But Cyanide, 2 kills from being on that lane roam.
And that's actually much more farm than Dandy normally takes. He is generally a jungler that completely defaults to his solo laner's farm. It's very uncharacteristic for him to have 60
and mostly Dade to say.
This early into this game. It always goes to Dade, and they usually just leave Home Alone in the top lane. That was not intentional.
6-3 here. You can see Looper trying to create some type of impact in the top lane. The 3K gold lead, however, shies them away after the taunt does not make it. We are having that 1 minute until Dragon coming back up. Ozone is going to clear out their jungle. The roam of Imp and Mata hip and hip right now as they continue to clear camps and get ready for this Dragon to spawn.
Soaz also rushing that Abyssal Scepter because there's so much magic damage that actually comes out for Fnatic. Specifically, Soaz is going to hit that Abyssal Scepter around the same time that Pushu gets level 11, which is rank 2 missiles on Corki, and that is going to be a huge power spike in the game for Fnatic, since that's actually going to be at a point in the game where Ozone can't build that much magic resistance yet, and the dive and just overall area of effect damage that will be coming out of Fnatic in that game, at that point in the game, could mean just a huge amount of objectives for them. That's what Fnatic is going to be going for. Oh dear.
That was, I think everybody knew what happened.
That was a very impressive juke by Xpeke. It's actually very difficult to judge the flight of that Gragas explosive cask, and he just sidestepped it right to the side. That's Dade as well, just not having the mechanics right now on Gragas.
Maybe not a little on tilt, but definitely in his own head on this one. Dragon going down just about the respawn time, which is, especially for the second Dragon, not something you usually see uncontested, because both teams are going to have an idea about that. That just shows where Fnatic stands right now in this game.
Yeah, they're in a lot of control. The Abyssal Scepter is only about 400 gold away for Soaz to get it, and specifically because Peke went Mercury Treads, once Soaz gets the Abyssal Scepter, it's actually going to give the level of magic penetration that Peke would have if he went a more aggressive Orianna build, which for when they actually do decide to go in a big team fight and combo up, he's going to have the defense, obviously, from the Mercury Treads, but not really lose out that much on damage.
I have to see. I've never actually command protected Lissandra when she E's, so I don't know if it leaves her. It'll be interesting to see if you can put that ultimate on her. Have that just crush people on the way in. The
Just
combo.
throw it on a cyanide.
The combo could get
It'll work.
right. Just throw it on a cyanide.
It's all
and
gonna work
dive
for
in.
Fnatic.
They have so many options to initiate here, and Dade
actually-
with that ultimate to disperse it. So that's what
Actually,
Ozon's looking for.
the old put your ball on the delivery system and go in isn't actually the best way of doing it nowadays, because teams are better generally at spreading out in team fights, so you want 2 areas of control.
Right.
So you have the Lissandra go in. She can create the own shutdown herself with her ultimate, or even Aatrox, and you basically put a lot of circles on the map and make this giant Venn diagram, which is much better than putting it all in one spot.
It says, where do you stand? And it's pretty much nowhere. Trying to go for some damage. The shockwave goes in. Thrown back as well. We're going to see if Peke can get himself out of this one. Ultimates went off at the same time, and it's going to be Dade, Dandy, and Mata on the aggression. Looper to follow in the pursuit to Pushu, and they get him down, but he answers back. Here comes Leona into the side. Yellow Star gets a lockdown onto that. They take down Dade, and that is his killing spree coming in. Big stuff happening there for Cyanide, him picking up that 302.
Yeah, just a 2 for 2. That was a well-executed barrel by Dade, but then you could see just how far behind they were. It took them a very long time to finish off Peke and Pushu, and that's the reason Cyanide and Yellow Star were able to roam down and get some kills back for that one. Cyanide 3-0-2 on Aatrox right now, showing up where Dandy is not.
And I can't say that Fnatic doesn't want to force these fights. The Triforce and the BF Sword over still the Phage on Imp. He's not been able to back. He's not need to, but he is keeping himself in lane until he can get that item.
Yeah, he's not backing until he has a Triforce, which means Fnatic has a lot of time right now.
Yeah.
So he's sitting on 2,000 gold to try and make plays happen, because Imp is not part of the map right now. There was the 4-man dive by Ozone in the mid lane, really to buy time for Imp to try and get that Trinity Force.
Dade, Expeke. These guys just dancing it out in the mid lane. Oh my god, he missed another one! Dade! Really into his own head right now.
Peke is outplaying Dade through and through. Those barrels, that's a very large explosive range on the Gragas ultimate, and Peke is not getting hit by a smidgen of it.
A turret goes down. They were able to take Dragon on the last misplayed cask. It's a turret this time. The global gold is just accruing too heavy. 6,000 in a gold lead. 5,000 as they hit 22k at 17 minutes in.
And Europe is really showing up in the World Championships today. Gambit dominated Vulcan, now Fnatic dominating Ozone early on in this game. Everyone coming in to this World Championship was talking about kind of how Europe, no one really knew what they're going to do, but most of them were kind of talking them down. Because during the season, there was so much parity within the European LCS. Everyone was beating each other. There was a 4-way tie for second that had to have a playoff at the end of the regular season. And they were thinking that's because Europe's not very good. But what if it's because they were all very good and they were just kind of beating each other? That's something we have to consider here, because Fnatic is doing amazing against a Korean powerhouse.
And we gotta give it to Expeke. He's playing well. Dade's playing a little off, but still, after being banned out, holding his own, 165 CS to the 127. And it's still kind of beyond me why they aren't giving Dandy that support still in the mid lane. It's almost gone now, the chance that they had for that. But with him behind now, they need to formulate another plan. They do have the split push available from Looper. His game, not unsinged again, is falling behind once more.
Yeah, Looper had a very good first game here in the World Championships, but now, especially if they're going to be picking champions like Shen, remember, they can pick Ohm or Looper for a game anytime in between matchups.
In between single games, not between a series.
Yes, and Shen is a champion that Ohm would actually have plenty of ability to play. And we saw the video about Ozone, how Ohm is really their leader. How much is this costing Ozone? Not having his essentially calming voice in game, knowing he is so much older, and they talk about how much life experience he has compared to the rest of Ozone. It might be impacting Ozone negatively, not having him in the games.
Well, this is where they try to make the moves. They're getting the gold wherever they can. Expeke going quite hard here with Cyanide on the outside, but he drew the exhaust from Mata. Soaz teleports in, throws the ult down. The cask hits perfectly that time. They disengage the right target, and they may be able to re-engage here. It's 1-for-1 on the supports, which means everybody is in the fight for themselves here to the cooldowns. Come back up. Looper getting chased down to the bottom, but Fnatic is also not following accordingly.
Yeah, a very scattered fight ends up with both supports just having to go home because they're dead. Everything else was just traded ultimates right now. Everything pretty much burned from that one. A little bit sloppy, but really not much done at the end of the day.
Finally, Imp having that Triforce finished. He is now in the bottom lane. They're trying to get the turrets back in their favor. It is 3-1. in those turrets that Fnatic has been able to quickly drop. The outer tiers is now giving them a little bit of entry into river fights in the jungle. That river fight we just saw, and another one to come up as Dragon is alive.
And pink ward control is becoming so paramount right now. All of the pink wards in the Dragon area have been placed by Fnatic. That is, or no, sorry, by Ozone.
Right.
Whoopsie-daisy. They need to take control back of this area. They have invested now about 6 pink wards into this Dragon area. If they do not get a team fight win or a Dragon out of this, they are more than 5,000 gold behind. As long as Fnatic is scouting around this area, they have the potential to punish Ozone for placing so many pink wards. Another one goes down, but they can get catches.
They go on to Pushu. Pushu has the distance, but that means they've wasted quite a bit to get in here. Looper really not going for the full taunt on that, so he's still got to back up. Will they be able to hit this one? He gets locked up. Great peel onto Looper, and he doesn't even get to try in this fight. Goes down by the hands of Expeke. They continue. Bottom of the fight is still just being drowned out, but it's Pushu and Soaz trying to corner them back into mid and stop this from doing any more damage. Low health bars on Fnatic, but they get out.
So you can see what Ozone is trying to do. They're trying to get a pick within the Dragon area, and they did. They got one onto Pushu, but they didn't have the spike damage to finish him off before he could Valkyrie away. And now that Fnatic gets the Dragon anyway, that is a tremendous gold sink that Ozone put themselves into by pink warding, losing a fight and a Dragon.
Such a definitive game. When have you ever seen a team do the Dragon with 3 red health bars when the other team is ace? So Fnatic knows how much ground they hold right now, and that's astronomical if Ozone didn't even want to attempt that with full HP on all their members.
No, Ozone had just been pushed back from the previous fight. They couldn't think about contesting that one because they lost ward control. Effectively, Ozone tried to control that area with pink wards, whereas Fnatic controlled the area with an Oracles on Yellow Star. And because Fnatic was so much stronger, they were effectively daring Ozone to protect their own pink wards. And it did not work out for them.
Those pink wards are still being thrown into the hands of Ozone. You can see them trying to clear out their own jungle here. It's something that these teams have kept up throughout the entire tournament, really is. Good warding going around. Some falters, as we talked about earlier on the analyst desk, but now back to the inventories here. 21 minutes into the game, Expeke actually just picked up that Leandries, but he's also upgraded his boots as well for that speed.
Yeah, the Alacrity boots. He's already been juking a lot of those Gragas explosive casks, so he's going to continue to try and do so as well. The chase down after fights for Fnatic is quite high. Everyone needing to kind of pile onto Ozone since Fnatic is very all-in right now. It does seem like a smart choice.
I feel like they're putting quite a bit on Imp here to be a late-game carrier for them. They just finished up the Void Staff quickly on Dade, except besides a surge of power like a Rabadon's or something else. But still, whoa, Expeke dodging out. Alacrity boots coming into play there, and it's going to be Yellow Star to lock him up. Bashes him with the shield. They throw the lockdown to the command shockwave. Will they get the kill for Pushu? And he does end it up with a nice missile.
They were just shutting down Looper. 1 in 4 right now on Shen. Fnatic is the team that dominates split pushing in Europe, and they're trying to dominate split pushing right now against Ozone. The biggest threat right there was immediately eliminated. Peke got him low. The rest of the team in went to finish him off.
You know, Jad, I said earlier that Dade was watching as much as they could of that Vulcan Fnatic match, but from game to game, anything can change, and I'm sure Fnatic is not doing what Ozone had in mind.
No, this is completely different from Fnatic right now. Just the fact that Soaz is on effectively a mage in the top lane with the Sandra, rushing that Abyssal Scepter, it just adds a whole new element to the Fnatic team composition. It's so much more damage, no real tanks. Who does Ozone actually try and focus? These fights have been very scattered. Generally, Fnatic thrives in scattered environments, whereas Ozone, as far as Korean teams go, is much more about control, catching the right vision, and then winning overall team fights, and that's not what Fnatic is allowing them to do in this game.
And you know, we said before a little bit, if Looper got going, if Ozone was ahead, this would be a very hard composition for Fnatic to come back
Exactly.
on. But since they're so far ahead, they can still put Merc Treads on to Expeke and Soaz as well, and continue to build the items they need for damage.
Well, the amount of focus that Fnatic has put down to Looper is actually extremely targeted, because they know that if Looper becomes that super tank, then all of the squishies of Fnatic will effectively have nothing to deal with him, because they wouldn't be able to stand toe-to-toe with a very farm tank. The people that Fnatic have been killing is very calculated.
You see Cyanide respecting that Void Staff quick pickup. He buys himself a Negatron Cloak. Keep himself safe as more wards being cleared out. Yellow Star, like you said, they're working the Oracles in this fight. Well, Ozone still trying to work those pink wards. Finally get an Oracle onto Mata. And now towards the second tier bottom turret, Fnatic has all of their members.
And if Fnatic wants to tower dive, Cyanide and Soaz have to lead the way. Cyanide, because he's 4-0-3, and now is actually past Dandy and Farm. He was actually pretty far behind earlier. Is really trying to tank up. 40. He's really trying to tank up so they can go and dive turrets to kind of end this game. They don't want to draw this one out too long.
Soaz acting as that split push. Not the easiest to catch Lissandra. We saw him dip out of that .8 gank around level 4 or 5 earlier. Looper to the top lane. Both teams trying to pretty much give themselves an advantage in one lane or the other, but it's being thwarted here by Soaz in the bottom. He's going to grab himself a turret, and it's Looper trying to really get the lane past River right now.
Soaz, he's got a ditch out of that one.
Yep.
There's a lot of ward control battles within that red jungle because that is where Fnatic is looking to focus their split push right now. And in typical Fnatic style, you can see the farm distribution amongst the team. When Fnatic is at their best, Peke is always top farm. 246 on Orianna, 25 minutes into the game. And then Soaz is also usually his split push buddy, who when Peke goes and makes a play, Soaz can always appear to support him. They've swapped that part of the role a little bit because Peke is on Orianna, who typically needs to be a bit more of a control type champion, but just the way they're distributing their farm is very core to their playstyle.
That farm right now across the map, 40 still a lead for Xpeke. We have 196 to 167. Imp trying to finish that Infinity Edge, but with a Triforce beforehand, not getting the damage that he really wants just yet. Yellow Star making sure that they are clear on wards. And you'll know that one was placed, but they won't decide to clear it out. He does not want to be baited into this.
Well, Soaz is not near the team right now.
Right.
It's actually allowing Ozone to get a fair bit of ward control back. You can see how much Mata has sacrificed in order to get this type of ward control. He just has his Ruby Sightstone, non-upgraded boots, and that's it. Whereas Yellow Star has been able to pick up a Negatron Cloak for the teamfight phase, and it hasn't actually cost Fnatic that much.
26 minutes of the game. Only one turret has fallen on the side of Fnatic, and back to the bottom lane without teleport. Soaz is able to stop that. Keep an eye on where Fnatic has these wards, because Soaz has initiated these fights quite strong from across the map.
Fnatic was thinking of picking on Looper once again. Dade ult side-eyed him, but that's the tank.
He throws him right out of the move. Could not dive away, and it looks like they go into Mata. He dives out of the crescendo over the golems. He completely saw that coming. Dade gets locked up by the ultimate of Soaz, and they continue to go in. Again, like you said, the focus onto Looper. They know Imp just is not a factor right now.
Fnatic just looking for fights because they know they can win them right there. Dade did not get a good separation with his Gragas ultimate, and the timing of Fnatic's invade was directly so they could get this dragon afterwards. This is only going to increase their giant gold lead, Riv.
It's just focused faces for Gambit right now, for Fnatic, I should say right now. Not even really talking to each other. Everything is just going by movement and what they're doing. They are playing like a team right now.
And it's just crazy. You never know what you're going to get with Fnatic. Look out, Imp!
Imp gets hit up right there. He knows he can pretty much 1v1, but not with a Stand United. That's going to make him back off right there. But the blue buff becomes theirs, and this is the continued pressure that Fnatic has been able to place. It's causing Ozone to always adapt, and there's a little bit of it.
And Peke, you know, he can ward off 4 people by himself with his Orianna. He may not be on Kassadin, but he's still a very potent threat. He's actually sitting on 2,200 gold right now. He is a very scary man.
Those are some big pockets all around him.
I'm very surprised, actually, in Ozone's champ selection right here. Going Kog'Maw on Imp, while yes, Kog'Maw is an auto-attack-centric champion, Imp's playstyle and his strengths so heavily revolve around his movement. And Kog'Maw is typically just a turret as far as damage goes. It just doesn't fit with what Ozone is good at. Fnatic is just running circles around him right now.
Maybe Ozone coming in with the first compositions that Ozone ran is Fnatic coming up very big on the side here. That ward being cleared out. Revolved around that Singe, that Jarvan, that Rise in the mid lane. So we'll have to see what they can get up here within these games. Still backing off. No, all the control right now by Fnatic. Ozone trying to keep 5 in mid, but there's nothing really that is going to help them in that fight unless Dade can hit the perfect ultimate into that crescendo, because it's going to be big from Soaz and both Expeke. We've seen the ultimates over and over.
10,000 gold, and Ozone still hasn't gotten that middle turret down. They're trying their best to run away, but man, they get caught a little bit, and Fnatic might just go and fight.
This looks pretty big. They're coming around that banana bush. There's not too much ward coverage there. Fnatic is running into this. Yellowstar gets a ward down. He is actually quite far from the team. Can the gap close with him? Knocked out again. The ultimate only affecting one person. This is the decider now. Pushu going in. He gets hit up, but he's already taken down Dade. They turn the fight around to Imp. Soaz is 1v1'd as well in the fight against Dandy. And Fnatic takes the jungle back. That was Ozone's.
4-0 in obliteration fight for Fnatic. They're teleporting just for fun right now. They're going for an inhibitor.
This is going to be huge for them as well. It's going to put another task on the plate for Ozone to stop a lane to figure out. And this is going to mean that Looper is off on the side even more, and he cannot get going. Fnatic is the one making the plays happen. They're causing Ozone to dance around the map right now.
And right on point. Inhibitor down at 30 minutes for Fnatic. They are just crushing Ozone right now. You know, no one saw that. Don't worry, it was not in the middle of the screen. Pushu, he can still push on. You know, Trinity Force Infinity Edge, he's 7-1-7. I'll give him that one. He didn't need to make it over the wall.
Gets himself out. He's a little tired from last fight. It was a bit extended. We have the Zanyas coming out onto Soaz. The teleport was used out. And let's actually check this out, because it was quite extended.
Here's the thing. Ozone was trying to run away from the fight, but they got themselves split up. Fnatic thrives in chaotic fights, as we said before. Yellowstar and Peke used the ball delivery system with Orianna, and then the disengage had to come from Ozone because they were afraid of the extra chase. But then Dade had nothing left when Pushu came in after him, and since Fnatic has so many individual initiators, they could just take out whoever they wanted. At the very end, Silent even did a nice little back jump, so Imp didn't get him with the Kog'Maw explosion. This was just coordination by Fnatic through and through, and using their enhanced mobility over Ozone to just catch the right fights.
A lot has happened in these matches, Jat, and a lot has happened in this one itself, but if we look at some of the basics, the solo lanes here for Fnatic have completely won. 247 to 196 for Lysandre Deschênes, 317 to 240 in that mid lane of Expeke and Dade, and they did not shut down Expeke as much as they needed to. That is the engine for Fnatic, and right now they're all going full force.
Yeah, it's great gold distribution for Fnatic. 12,500 on Peke. He's actually built fairly defensively on Orianna because he can.
Yeah.
And it's making him even more resilient to Dade's Gragas.
They still don't have a member over 10 grand.
And they still haven't even had to go for Baron as well if you're looking at Fnatic. Ozone doesn't have much to fight back. Peke's actually split pushing with Orianna.
They're trying to get in here, but they're still split. Dandy was on one. Dade tried to come in on another, and the Shen ultimate was used there. So again, a lot of cooldowns for Ozone. Wasted before the fight.
Ozone seems to be playing very nervous right now. I feel like they need their leader Ohm in some of these games, because as soon as they fall behind, they seem to lose their coordination and control.
That's kind of crazy for an AD carry to dive into the fight by himself. So showing how much aggression and how sure of themselves they are right now. Fnatic continues these fights. Peke taking a few shots, and that is just going to bring Imp down to 0. Pushu coming in from the side. Shots have been fired. They try to crescendo and cast back, but I don't think it's going to be enough. The chase is onto Cyanide. Pushu again, Valkyrieing into the fight, hip to hip with his compadres, and they are going to be going big. 19-6 on the kills as they continue to chalk up those. Just getting it.
And you cannot run from this Fnatic team. They chase everyone down on Ozone. 21 kills to 6, a clean ace, and another surrender from Ozone.
Huge play coming out here. As I said before, Ozone was watching Fnatic's games earlier today. They took consideration of this match very big. They considered it heavily. And Fnatic